This episode of FSM is brought to you by Fidelity Behavioral Alliance, your number one source for behavior change. Fidelity Behavioral Alliance creates behavior change programs for schools, parents, and organizations looking to reduce problem behaviors and improve performance outcomes. Find out more at www.fidelitybehavioralalliance.com. If you would like to sponsor an episode of FSM, email us at shitmom@gmail.com. That's shxtmom@gmail.com.
It's time to put the kids to bed, so y'all get ready for another episode of For Shitty Moms.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of FSM. I'm your host, Dr. Lori, and today we have a special guest. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over the mic and let our guest introduce herself to all of you guys, and we're going to jump into the episode.
All right. So, hey everyone. My name is Markeisa Tassy. I'm originally from Delray Beach, Florida. I'm a proud mom to a teenage son named Sincere, and I'm excited to be here.
And thank you so much for joining us today. Typically, I like to give our guests an opportunity to really highlight what they're doing in their life, give a little background to how they came about to be in the positions that they're in right now. You are from my hometown as well, so that gives a little insight into our history, our insight. And I do follow you on social media, so I've had the opportunity for years now to really just follow your journey, your story. I think it's incredible with everything that you do. Sometimes I categorize moms as like super moms because they really do a lot in addition to just parenting and working, and you do that and so much more. So I'm familiar with your story, but our guests and our fans may not be. So I just want you to give a little insight into some of the things that you do, because I know just from me following you, you're definitely into your fitness journey. You are a published author. You do a lot of advocacy. It seems like you do a lot of self-care and just exploring, and I see a lot of things sometimes that looks like you just know how to have fun and explore your interests as well. And I know there are a lot of moms who probably want to explore different things, or maybe are sitting home thinking about trying something new, trying something different, and it just stays an idea, right? But now I have the opportunity to really bring someone to the forefront who's kind of shown us, like, and by us, I mean your followers on social media, we get a chance to see you kind of pursue everything that you put your mind to. So some days I'll see you make a post like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or has anyone tried this? And then maybe like a week later, I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember this was years ago. It looks like you were at a skate park, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, that is so cool. So just give us a little background information about you, how you came to be, what motivates you to just explore all these interests, and really, how do you do that and still work and still raise a kid? Like, how are you wearing all of these hats?
So, thank you. It sounds like a great CV or resume. It sounds like an amazing CV, but as a mom, you said the word fun, and I love that you said fun, because if I if I leave here today, I want people to know I'm very big on advocating for our mental health. My pain has really drove and been like the sole driver of God leading my purpose. And so when I got into fitness, it was literally me just documenting my journey of working out online, but I was breaking through a divorce. And when I was skating, believe it or not, I had started my master's program during COVID, and I started having panic attacks.
Mm.
And so, because I'm a person that is physically active, I said, I need to find something that will take this pain away or like contradict. Like, if in my mind, if I fall skating, that probably will feel better than the thoughts running through my mind that I probably wasn't good enough to be in this master's program because it was via Zoom,
Oh, wow.
right? And I like it to be in person. So everything I've done is literally just me advocating for mental health, physical health, and my relationship with God. Like letting people know that I can't do any of these things, but there is many hats being worn. As you said, I'm an author, I'm a speaker. Working out for me is so not what people see. Like people think we work out and it's all about the body, but it's really all about the mind for me.
Okay.
Like we have to take care of our bodies, because if we don't take care of ourselves, how are we going to show up and be the best person that we can be for our children?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so because I advocate a lot about physical health, people will hit me up and like, oh, come to my group thing, come to this, come to that. And I start to panic. Like people don't know this, but I'd be like, I cannot be everywhere with everybody, right? Like I know it looks like I'm very active and I could do this and all the things, but that is my moment to pour back into Markeisa. So if I do go to a group fitness class or I do something, that's because I have the capacity to be around people, right?
Mm, okay.
And so my pain, I'm a sexual abuse survivor. Um, Childhood, that's what my book is talking about, overcoming trauma. I'm a single mother because I talk about my divorce, but oddly enough, right? We weren't married before the child. We got married afterwards. It didn't work out. So then I'm back to being a single mom, but just trying to show up in the best capacity that I could have for my son. So all the things I do are really just so I can show my son that you can do and be all the things, and you don't have to be everywhere with everybody, because whatever God's wants to happen for you will open up with you truly showing up as a disciple for him.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Now, how old is your son?
Sincere is 16.
Okay. Oh, so you're in the thick of it.
Woo!
You're in the thick of it. Now, does he understand what it is that you're doing and where it comes from? Does he how do you communicate that to him, because I feel like it's tough with that age
So,
group.
we hear the term gentle parent. You have parents that choose if they want to beat a kid or not and all this other stuff. But I feel like I would be the mixture of nuck if you buck, right?
Okay.
And then a gentle parent. And the funny thing is, the nuck if you buck, I have a nuck. I'll yell, but no buck, right? I don't
Okay.
hit, been hitting kids. But Sincere, I've literally been vocal with him about all the things he knows. Like, I feel like in my book, I put all my secrets out. So I had to warn him, like, hey, look, everything's in this book. I don't know how people are going to take to it, but I feel like this is what God is calling me to do. So we've
Mm,
had all the uncomfortable conversations about mommy and her unhealthy coping mechanisms and what took her there so that he can navigate his teenage years. And I talked to him about what purity is and why it's important. And even like when we think about teenagers and what they do, like making sure you're not sending nudes, because that is child pornography.
mm-hmm.
Making that you don't put yourself in a situation to be running a train, because that is gang rape.
Mm.
Like
Oh,
I'm giving
wow.
him the terms for the real things and having uncomfortable conversations so that he understands, like, it might be cool right now when y'all kids and y'all think it is, and then 10 years later here we have somebody on social media saying this happened to them and everybody
Mm,
knows who they're talking about.
yeah.
You don't see that person. And so we have uncomfortable conversations. And the thing about it, I didn't have terrible twos
Mm-hmm.
with here, but baby, teenage years. And I mean, the work that I do as a, you know family coach supervisor and working in the mental health field and human service social work aspect, I don't think anybody can really prepare you, even with all the research on how to navigate changes with your kids,
Mm-hmm.
with what society has going on.
Yeah, I agree.
I say if I make it out of this, I'm gonna write a book about it. But I gotta
Okay.
make it out first.
That's good. That's a good way to think about it. That's true. And I like talking to someone who's in the field because I know I do behavior therapy as well, which is different from mental health. So typically with behavior therapy, there is a strong focus on your environment, right? So how your environment dictates your behavior and what you do. And we are just starting to really, as a field, when I say we're starting to dig into what we call private events. So like feelings, things that you can't see that kind of control behavior as well. So I do a lot of parent coaching and things like that. And it's so refreshing to hear another professional in the field that's like, look, it's a touch and go situation, like even as a parent, because I think a lot of times people look at what we do by trade and they tend to think like, oh, you're the expert, you know, you don't go through this, you won't have these problems with your kid or your family. And it's the exact opposite. But I think it's the perspective that you have to know that every child is different, every situation is different, every feeling is different. You know, the situation may happen and you may talk to your kid about it and they may feel a way about it the first day. And then you may revisit that conversation on another day and they may feel a different way about it. They may have a different response, a different reaction. And it's touch and go. It's small changes, little by little, over time that make a difference. So it's refreshing to hear someone else that's like, it's a struggle because this is what we do, this is our field, this is what we do professionally. But on the other end of the coin, it's still a touch and go situation for us, and we don't have the answer for everything, and sometimes that's okay. You're open to figuring it out together. So I love to hear that for all of you. So just to clarify for the listeners, what is your professional title or your occupation, so we have a better understanding for those who don't understand?
So I'm an intake and family coach supervisor with Safe Families. And with my role, I help my volunteers feel seen, secure, and supported in their roles with helping families. And our main goal is to keep kids reunified and out the foster care system.
Oh, nice. And how long have you been in that field?
So I came into that field last year in November.
Okay. And oh, that's heavy. So how do you cope with that? Is this like a 40 hour, your traditional like 9 to 5? What does that look
So
like?
before we go into that, I want to go back into you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about, you're a BCBA. So when I said congratulations to you when you graduated, I was super proud
Oh, thank you.
because I was a RBT before.
Oh, I didn't
So
know that. Oh,
people look at my life and they think Markeisa does not have, she's just so transparent. Everything she does is on social media. So they think they know all of me,
uh-huh.
but very personal. So I work with autistic children,
Okay.
and when I took the child development psychology class, and this is what I want to put in people's minds because I'm very descriptive. I'm a storyteller. So let's put two kids, and they're going to be the same exact kid by the time we're done. We have a child, you take them to the mall, and they throw a tantrum because they can't get a toy. They fall out. Mom is so embarrassed because everybody's looking at her. That was my mother, truth be told. That was my little brother.
Mm-hmm.
And she just feels like the whole world's looking at her. She feels like she's the worst parent in the world. And all the while, it's just a child throwing a tantrum. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have words to say that, I want that toy. He doesn't know how to accept no for the moment. Then let's take a person that has now this child that has the label autistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
This child is autistic, throws a tantrum. Parent gets looked at like, why can't they control that child? But all the while, the tantrum is probably because it's too much noise.
Mm-hmm.
Another child that doesn't have words for, this is not an atmosphere I want to be in right now. So when we think about parenting to each household, it's literally you making the decision on how to make the choices to do what's going to effectively work for your household. It
Absolutely.
will not most likely mimic everybody else's.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's what I love with what you do, because we work with people that have superpowers. Like, these humans are going to grow up to be the next ones leading
Mm-hmm.
love. So, anyways, but yeah, so I wanted to make that picture image for people to understand, like, parenting really is not trying to mimic anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the best that you can for your household.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
okay. What was the question?
Okay.
Sorry.
So the next one, let's see. Okay, so we have your occupation. We know what. Okay, give us the run of the meal, because you said like keeping families together. So is that a 9 to 5
Okay.
situation? And how do you deal with the mental load that comes with that job? And then how do you not carry that home? Because that sounds like a lot. That sounds stressful.
Okay, so what I did, so I feel like God let everything build up to really prepare me for such a time. So I did my internship working with autistic children, but prior to that, um, leading up to that, what I would do to start my day was literally get on the phone with nobody. I started my day with prayer, and
Mm,
then my son would read. We read scripture in the car, listened to worship music, because I made sure that I didn't talk to anybody, so nobody could set the tone for my day, because I didn't know what I was going to go into.
okay.
And so then I was like, okay, now, depending on what I dealt with, and now I come home, I got to be able to show up for my child.
Absolutely.
So learning how to turn that off, having a window of maybe I'll let people in, get on the phone or not, and then coming back to reality of, okay, what do I have to do for my child? With the load of stuff I do now, because prior to this, I was a victim advocate, and that was much more heavier. So God has taken the heaviness off of me, but I find balance by literally do like management, like time blocking, asking for help when I need to. And that was a very hard one. And prioritization is
Okay.
how I really balance it all, because we deal with heavy stuff. Like, I'm dealing with people that have been through some things, and
Mm-hmm.
then literally trying to help bring the wraparound services that they need to make sure that they can get to their next level in life.
Right. Okay. And then, oh wow, I didn't know. I didn't. I knew you did something with mental health, but I wasn't quite sure. So thank you for clarifying and giving us a better picture of that. Now, with your particular job, would you consider that to be something that's like a mom friendly environment? Like, or do you have to have a village supporting you? Say, if something is going on with your son, can you just leave work and take off to tend to his needs? What does that look like?
It's definitely mom friendly.
Okay.
Definitely. Like, I wouldn't. I've been blessed to be able to be in a role that is very mom friendly. I work from home.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay.
So, a lot of times, my day starts when I want it to, and for the most part, unless I have a conference or a training or something that I feel like really goes with what I'm trying to do, it really has the mom work life entrepreneurship balance that I need to be able to get on to the next thing I'm trying to do.
Okay. And I love to throw that question out there because a lot of our listeners, sometimes a lot of them are just trying to figure out what can they do as a mom to secure some financial stability but also still be present. A lot of times we have single moms who are listeners, or we have moms who are looking to elevate themselves in some way. Maybe they want to go back to school. Maybe they need to make a career change to increase their income. But when you start looking at jobs, even in 2025, you women still have to sometimes make that choice between family and income. And a lot of times, a lot of industries don't really support working moms. So I know, for instance, I have a few friends who work for the government, they work in public health, and it's not a lot of flexibility when it, even if they have paid time off and things like that, the work culture and the environment usually kind of shake their head at it if you're using that PTO a little too much. You can't always say, hey, something came up with my kid, I have to go. Sometimes that's frowned upon. Sometimes you may find yourself pigeonholed. And when I say pigeonhole, I mean you're kind of overlooked for opportunities to move up in the workplace because you do have to prioritize your family. So I always like to highlight career options if there are any moms out there who are listening, who are considering making like a change in a certain field. I think it's important to talk about how that works with motherhood and if balance is something that's possible. Sometimes I even have moms who say, well, balance really doesn't exist. You're kind of just juggling. You handle one thing, you focus on what you can focus on, and then, when that's done, you drop that and you move on to something else. And sometimes I call that the mom like struggle and juggle. Sometimes you can only focus on one thing at a time, but it sounds like for you, the way that you're able to handle all of these things, it sounds like scheduling and time management is like up there for you. Even when it comes to prayer, it sounds like you're very intentional with your time, where you're allocating that time. And for a lot of moms, I can speak for myself, time management is like one of those things where I'm like, oh, I need to work on that. But it's nice to hear how you are actually doing it, especially with the phone calls in the morning. I know a lot of times that's when we have that free time, but it's nice to hear that with your free time, you've decided, okay, this is where I'm going to allocate my free time, as opposed to pouring into others. You're kind of pouring in to yourself first, spiritually, to get through whatever obstacles that may happen throughout the day. And just listening to it, I'm like, okay, I can see how that can set the tone for your day and then make it so that when you get off work, you are not emotionally dumping on those around you, because it sounds like you've kind of already started your day ahead of the curve to begin with. So that's awesome. I love that. So besides working, parenting, I want to hear about, you kind of told us about your health journey. So where are you now with your journey? And then I want to know if you have any other like businesses that you're running on the side. So let's start with your health journey. Where are you now with that?
So I tell people when it comes to my health, because people outside looking in are like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. What can I do? Give me the pill. I am going to get the pill. Tell me the recipe. I am going to cook it up. And I'm like, yeah, if I told you what I went through, you would not like, it's really the true definition. If you could fit my shoe and wear it, you wouldn't. Right?
Okay.
It's just the true definition. If God gave us the full picture, we probably would stop. Literally, like, hold on, you want me to go through a fire? You want me to die to myself? God, I'm not, come on, let's make some different arrangements because I can get there, but not that way.
Okay.
So I stopped eating meat. I've been meatless 3 years now.
Oh,
3 years. And in the like right when I stopped eating meat, not to like I stopped eating meat around January, February. By September, like leading like from July to September, I just felt like I was in this space of the unknown. Like when you graduate, people got to understand we grieve our old self and we grieve the new person we're going to be. Like it's this stage that we go through and we have this like just this unknown of now we have to show up And so now here I am. I'm physically doing the things. I'm looking good, but I'm not really feeling good on the inside. And I'm like, God, I want to feel how I look on the outside. Everybody's like, oh, you look amazing and this and that. Now I'm meatless. I'm vitamin D deficient. I'm
Mm.
going bald.
Mm.
Come on, let's talk about it. If I told you in order to lose 50 pounds, look how I look, you would probably go bald. Now, would you want to do it?
Oh, wow.
Now I'm going to the doctors, getting extra blood work so I can make sure that I'm getting the vitamins that I'm not getting from meat
Mm-hmm.
to my hair back. And
Oh,
I
okay.
ain't 40 yet. So we know seeing the men go bald, we know what that look like. Now
Right.
let's talk about when women go, who? Am
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't see my husband yet? Is he gonna come if he knew I was going bald? The hair came back, y'all. So
Okay.
whenever God get ready, but he probably would have had to deal with a woman that's gonna wear something to cover that up.
Right. Oh, I didn't know that. And you know what? A lot of people when you see people online, and I know online is just me and my husband call it like the highlights, right? Those are the highlights. You don't hear about that. So what did you do to like recover? Was it the blood work? How did you change your diet? What did you
So
have to do to get to the other side of the hair loss?
believe it or not, to get the hair back, I was not willing to go back to me.
Okay. Oh,
If
wow.
that's the only way I could have got it back, I would have just lost my hair.
Oh, okay.
Because when I took meat out of my diet, I felt better mentally.
Okay.
And I didn't actually go meatless thinking I would be meatless. So I take now a vitamin, weekly vitamin D, and then daily prenatal pills.
Okay.
So that it came back, but I was vitamin D deficient.
Oh, and thank you for sharing that because I didn't know that. And I'm sure a lot of listeners who are considering that, I mean, that is something to take into consideration, but it seems like the classic case of you say you want to do this, but what are you willing to do to get there? Yeah, I can definitely see that. So, go
And
ahead.
I want to speak to the mother that, so as I was transitioning, as God was like, I feel like a lot of times we're already doing the thing, God wants to perfect it.
Mhm.
But, and so, in perfecting it, I look at things now. I think I'm an amazing mom. I think I try my hardest. I ask my son if there are ways I could be better. I always ask him how I can show up for him.
Okay.
But when I think about my parenting style and what I'm doing, I don't look at myself as if what I'm doing is for right now. What I'm doing right now is for my grandchildren.
Mm. Okay.
So when you think about it that way, I think it takes the pressure off of I'm not meeting all the I can be in this certain time frame because it's more long term than short term.
Mhm.
And so when I think about the Proverbs 31 woman, we got to be good stewards of our time. We got to be good stewards of our resources. We got to be good stewards of what God puts in our hands. So when I was transitioning, I wasn't making a lot of money.
Mhm.
Like when I was getting my bachelor's, when I was getting my master's, I was not making a lot of money. I was settling. And then that's why you got to be careful who's in your ear because people were like, oh, go to this job, go to that, go to that. But the job I had gave me opportunity to be able to go to school. It
Okay.
didn't pay for me to go back to school. It opened the door that I could create my schedule however I wanted it to be.
Right. And that's
So
important.
sometimes in some seasons, we're going to take some losses in some areas, but it's only for such a time. And that's why, for me, like you said, it looks like I have this healthy balance of how to construct my day. But if we're really in our word, like when you read scripture, and I think this is important because if we surrender to God, we can surrender to our husbands. But if we don't surrender to God, we have an issue of how do we really show up and surrender to our husband. But if you read scripture, it literally tells us all that we need to do. Like sometimes a person might be locked up mentally,
Mhm.
they could be locked up physically,
Right.
having physical ailments for such a time, and they can't meet the best of their capabilities, but it's only for such a time. And there's something else that you can be strengthening to get to your next. Because it'll all come full circle when it's supposed to.
Right. So where are you now with what season are you in right now?
Being obedient to blossom in the spring. I have a second book coming out, and it's going to be about surrender. It's about learning how to fast and pray.
Okay.
And it's a journal learning how to fast and pray. And then my third book, which will come out at the end of the year, will be Soul Surgery, where I just talk about the process of really like, I guess my last book spoke to my healing journey from childhood sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
This next book talks about really like that surrender journey. And so I have a podcast that I host, Beautiful Disaster GPS, but I talk about my faith walk and my journey and really becoming the woman that I need to be for all things, for
Mm-hmm.
my future husband, for my son, for my grandchildren, for my friends, for my family. And a lot of times, because do we have a circle? Is our village really here? Like I'm in Tallahassee. I have two friends in
Okay,
Tallahassee.
that was actually going to be my next question. What does your village look like?
You said my village is one really just like asking God, how do you want me to train up this child?
Okay.
I'm in Tallahassee where I don't have really like this big circle. I don't have a circle. What is it? A triangle?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a line. I
Okay.
my village is my family's back home. So I can call and get moral support, like I can get some verbal support, but where Sincere had surgery 2 years ago, and that was a real hard time for me. And when that happened, I wish I had my job that I had now, Safe Families.
Okay.
Because Safe Families make sure that they come around, they give you like a circle of support. You might have a family friend, a volunteer, somebody to bring you a meal, somebody
Mm.
to just be there with you at the hospital while your child was getting surgery. I didn't
Oh
have nobody
wow.
here for when I was going through that.
Okay.
Really leaning on God to help me go through that. And I know I went through a state of depression because at that time I was the RBT. So if I didn't go to work, I didn't get paid.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
If I didn't go to work, I didn't get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about when you're seeing a $0 paycheck,
Yeah.
a $40 paycheck, and you
Mm-hmm.
got bills.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about the resources that I know now that I tell my clients about.
Okay.
So to the mom that feels like she's faced, like her back is against the wall and nothing will change, it changes.
Okay.
It does. Like we get through it. But baby, there are some times where you're gonna go through the roughest time. And my advocacy is like when I'm going through it, I show up the most on social media, and
Mm.
I tell people I'm going through it
Okay. And
because
that's
I don't.
different because a lot of people just, you see sunshine and rainbows with most people. So, yeah, that's one thing that I can say. Whatever challenges you are going through, I can say, if I tap in, I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is going on. Oh, I didn't know that was going on. Okay. Yeah, I can see that for sure."
Because I don't want people to like. There's this false reality on social media, and I don't want to ever sell a false reality. And the more real and transparent I get, and the more I let God transform me, it's less likes, it's less views,
Mm.
but it's real.
Oh, wow.
May the people that's supposed to get that. Like, you know how many women told me they went back to school because of me?
Oh, that's amazing.
That wasn't because of me. That was because God allowed me to have a voice that I'm okay with sharing.
Yeah. And that obedience, I mean, that's probably why it's important to be obedient in the first place because somebody needed to hear your message to get that motivation to change their lives. That's amazing.
Exactly. Like me showing people how God is transforming me. In seasons, I'm like, I don't even feel. You seen the one post that I put? I'm like, why are they making the clothes literally for workout as if I'm so sick of, like, why does a woman's print have to show in her pants?
Mm-hmm.
That's like, what are we doing? Like, I am a mom. Like, I go through these, I'm like, I'm not comfortable. This is weird. I gotta make sure my angle isn't crazy because you've seen it. Like some people literally just are wanting us to see a certain body part.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
not.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to have that conversation with my husband And a couple of dads, we were talking, and one of the dads has like a teen daughter, and she gave him, I don't know if it was like a Christmas list or a birthday list, and Lululemon leggings were on there, and I'm like, ugh. So I'm like, just a heads up, like you might want to take a look at those because they are known to, you put these leggings on, you go out in natural lighting, fluorescent lighting, and you see everything. So I was just like, just a heads up, as a dad, you may not want to set your daughter up like that. So just keep an eye out, be careful, because that seems to be the new style. And it's really hard to overcome that as a parent when it seems like everyone else is doing it. Your kid is surrounded by it. And if they don't do it, now they are the outcast. They're the oddball, right? They're not keeping up with the latest. But really, from a parent perspective, you're trying to protect them, right? Because sometimes we know as adults that social media, something as simple as a picture, a video, an outfit, it can be a lot more to it than just that. It comes with a lot more, I don't want to say responsibility, but a lot more baggage, right? And because of our previous experiences, we really try to shield our kids from experiencing what we experienced, just because we know what it can lead to and what can happen. But the kids, they don't understand that in the moment. It's kind of like, well, everybody else gets to do it. Well, so-and-so gets to do it, and this one gets to do it. And it's like, yeah, and they haven't experienced a consequence yet, but, that's going to come with a lot more baggage than what you guys may be ready to handle. I see you smiling. What, do you have you having a
So
flashback?
I'm gonna give you a flash that came, and then I do want to hit on you and your husband. But so I'm a mom to a teenage son. Let's talk about it, right? He might not want to wear Lululemon leggings, but he wants to flash money on social media.
Mm.
Sir. Think like, Mom, no, please, let me. I'm like, yo.
Oh,
And then
man.
you go through like you go through maybe it's not that bad. Like for his birthday, he's like, why are you acting like that? You took the last picture. Sincere, I'm having mental battles with this. Like, I'm okay with it for 2.5 seconds. I'm not okay with it for 5 seconds. Like, come on. Like, let's
Right.
not be that person. Like, I love it because their age group, they'll post a picture, they get their likes, and they archive everything. So that age group don't have nothing on their page. But it's for the 1 hour or 2 hours that this thing is on, there's
Mm-hmm.
screenshots, there's, I
Right.
just don't want to look like, I don't want you to put yourself in a predicament where you could be a setup
Yeah,
for something that
absolutely.
has nothing to do with you. And then for me, like, you're more at the age where you need to be getting ready for your next level. And does that look scholarly?
You're
And
right. Oh, wow. You're right.
I'm big on the whole, like, I'm okay with if you're choosing a trade and stuff, but is it really picture wise creating a CV or a resume to get you ready for your next level?
That's a way to look at it because, things are a lot more competitive than they were when we were in high school, for the kids. And I feel like I have a kiddo in middle school, and we're talking trade and certifications, and we're talking about it now. He's in sixth grade. And I'm like, you're in this academy. You're supposed to get certified in this, and this by the time you leave seventh grade. You need to focus. You need to. And I'm like, would I even comprehend this if my mom was telling me this when I was in seventh grade? Absolutely not. But this is their reality. And then add to that social media. Because I was just thinking the other day, I was driving past Boynton High, and I remember when Boynton High, like high school, had just opened, and that was like the place to be. The band, all of the football games, and I was like, oh my goodness! I think a song came on, and I was like, oh. And I used to, for the football games, I would cut up my jeans and cut up my shirt, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness, social media was not like that popular when we were in high school, because I would die if a picture showed up with like the clothes that I used to make. 'Cause I
It
wanted to
might
be
not have been
different.
Lululemon, but you sure was cutting up,
Right.
boy.
Like, I would be mortified if those pictures were circulating now, but we didn't have to worry about that. You know, if you went to the game and you saw it, you saw it. You know, if I talked to some people that I went to high school, maybe one or two people will remember. Most wouldn't even know what I was talking about, right? Our kids don't have that luxury anymore to let something stay in their childhood because of social media. It's like you said, if some, even if you do like a Snapchat, because I know the kids are like, oh, you can snap and it'll disappear. Well, if someone screen records or screenshots,
Hey,
it doesn't just disappear. So I empathize with them, because they do have to make a lot of decisions that we just didn't have to make. And I do empathize, and I do understand that, you know, as a parent, you still want them to get the full experience. You don't want to rob them of their childhood. You don't want to rob them of their teenage years, because part of you may feel like this is what you were supposed to do as a teenager. But the fact that, like you said, you take a picture, it may be up for 2 hours, but there's a big if somebody screenshots, if somebody decides to screenshot and then send it to somebody else. You know, and I feel like with boys and young men, there's a lot that they have to worry about when it comes to people being jealous and envious of material things that they may have. You know, that becomes an issue, and it's a little different when you're dealing with girls. You know, you kind of expect the cattiness and the drama from the girls, but it may look different for the boys. So it's just another layer that we have to take into consideration as parents. And the kids are not thinking about that. They want to have a good time. They want to flex on their social media because that's what they see. And it's all fun until, you know, you start to worry about the what ifs, or until something gets back to school. You know, that birthday, those pictures, whatever, that could have been solely on the weekend, right? And now it could be spilling over into school if somebody has a picture, if somebody texts it to somebody else, and now everybody's talking about it in school on Monday. And I just feel like when we were growing up, we didn't have to worry about it as much as the generation now have to worry about that.
for sincere, what I feel really good about is the fact that one, I let him have a voice. Two, he has a therapist, and when I sit in for the family sessions, the therapist always goes, "Mom, this the age group I see.
Okay.
Like if his session is wanting to talk about girls, this is normal. Like I would just wish he focused on the grades. It's like that's not the boys right now, Mom.
Right.
Maybe girls, but that's not the boys right now. And then even still, like if he posted something that his youth pastor feels like is inappropriate, he calls us to the side. Hey, Mom, we wanted to have a talk about this. I got sincere mentor. I keep whenever the men's mental health group has an event, it's like quarterly. I take him to those things, and it's a professor. His name is Dr. Mackay something,
Mm-hmm.
but um he had an event recently at the Challenger Center in Tallahassee, and it's like bringing comedy and awareness to like street violence and everything
Oh
else.
wow.
And what he told the kids, he was like, 9 out of 10 times, a lot of the times, the people that we're trying to reach are never in this room because you guys have
Yeah.
that are bringing you to these events.
Absolutely.
The ones we want don't have the support that they need. And so I teach my son, I teach him from a place of that we don't judge anything. We talk about the kid that what the kid that doesn't have usually looks like coming to school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even when it comes to the ones that might get in more trouble than others, I'm not a mother judging or having my nose up at somebody's kid, because that's still a child. That child needs to be loved on. Where's their
Right.
support?
Right.
And so, you know, we just keep talking, and he'll show me in little ways that I'm doing a great job. Like when he was in 8th grade, he was like, "Mom, I don't want to go to school today." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "It's 420. I don't even want to be around
Mm-hmm.
whatever could go down." And I'm like, okay. Like, he gets mental health days, and then other days I'm like, I thought we were on the same page. I thought you were learning something. He's like, when he'll be, I want money to post, and I'm like, I thought we were just on the same. Like, I remember he showed me a post like, oh my gosh, this kid got robbed and shot like on prom night by flashing money, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know, so good. You're not gonna want to do that. He was like, yeah, I still want to flash. I'm like, what was the point? Like, what was, so, you know, again, I'm just still trying to help a young man navigate life
Yeah.
and making choices. Is he always going to make the right choices? Probably not.
Right.
But I help teach him how to fall forward, you know?
Okay. I like
Yeah.
that strategy, falling forward. I like that. I'm going to write that down. Because it gives them, it leans a little more grace towards the kids. I feel like sometimes we set the bar um as mothers for ourselves when we're establishing our own goals, and we start to achieve those goals, you know, the bar moves a little higher. And just from my personal experience, sometimes I feel like with my son, watching me go through my journey and move myself forward career wise, education, I feel like somewhere along the lines I thought like, oh, I'm setting a great example, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I want him to, you know, carry the torch. I want to be able to pass the torch to him. And I think somewhere along the lines, I really believe probably around the time where I was studying for my boards, to become a BCBA, I think that's when something kind of changed, right? And I saw a shift, and instead of admiration with my son, I think it turned into intimidation. And then I started to hear the comments like, "Oh, I don't think I can do that. Oh, that's a lot." Like initially it started off with a lot of encouragement. "Oh, mom, you're still studying. Oh, mom, I'm going to bring you some water, and I'm not going to come in the room, and I'm not going to bother you." Like, he was so supportive. If I took a practice exam or a mock exam, he would be right there like, "What'd you get? What's your score? How'd you do?" And then once I passed the exam, I think he was able to see the shift, like career wise and things like that, and to watch me go into a different role. And then the comments started to change like, "Oh, I don't think I can do that. Oh, are you still working? I think you should take a break." Oh, like, so now, like, he's giving me the therapy, right? Like, he's giving me the advice. And now he'll come back and ask me questions about jobs. And I think the last time we had a serious conversation about a career, he was just like, the people who deliver Amazon packages. I'm like, yeah. He's like, they get paid for that? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, I think I can do that job. And I'm like, what happened?
Bruh, listen, when I tell you, it is, for me, that's the term when I'm like, it's so ghetto out here. What just happened, right?
Right. Like you saying, we were on the same page. Like, I thought we were here, you know, I thought we were seeing eye to eye. So now we're slowly working back into things, me just trying to find things and introduce him to different fields and career options. And everything doesn't have to be about college. You know, if he wants to do a trade, if he wants to do tech, if he wants to like follow the footsteps of his dad and go into a career and just work his way up, you know, you can do that too. But I also am trying to get through to him so he can understand, like, listen, No matter what you choose, it's not easy. It is not. I have people who are going to school for HVAC, and that's not easy. I have people who are like, oh, plumbers make six figures and they don't have to have a degree. Plumbers do a lot of hard work. Okay, when they go to school, they have to do their, if they're doing an apprenticeship or something like that, that's not easy. That's not easy work either. So whatever you choose, you got to have an interest. There's got to be some sense of motivation from somewhere, but none of it is easy. Whether you go the college route, the trade route, my husband, I look at what he does every day, and I don't know, like, he has the patience of a saint, because I would not be able to deal with people like that coming at me from all directions with attitudes and grievances at the drop of a dime. And I have to, address all of these issues with a smile on my face, no attitude, and how can I make it better, even though it's no real problem or I'm not seeing eye to eye. Like, that's not easy either. So just trying to get him to understand all of it's hard, all of it is difficult. We didn't hit the lottery. We are not up. There is no what is it? Trust fund. There's no trust fund here. Like, honey, you are gonna have to work. You are gonna have to support yourself, and it's not gonna be easy. So it's nice to hear how, I don't know. I just feel like this is such a real conversation, even coming from a professional. Like, it is ghetto out here. We try to steer our kids in one direction, and they are still, gonna go.
What I love from both of us, what I feel like is the same as mothers. So for me, being a first generation, when I take Sincere to these, like, I have him in trio and he's going on college campuses, and he's like, Mom, if I make $100,000 before I graduate high school, can I not go to college? And I'm like, Sincere, how are you making $100,000 before high school? He was like, just shake on it. And I'm like, all right. Comes back like 6 months later. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make 100,000. He wanted me to put the betting app, the Hard Rock betting app.
Oh no.
And I'm like, Sincere, like, I'm trying to teach him, like, train him up in the word. I'm like, I can't make you a gambler, son. Then I did do it. Then I took it off. Then I'm like, he's like, you always say yes, then you say no. And I'm like, I don't want this for your life. And you're losing more than you're making, sir. So no. And so we do then go, yeah, you could go the trade route, but then I'm like, how about if you have a daughter? Like, I want her to want to go to college. Like, I'm first generation, you could be second generation. Let's create a third generation.
Mm-hmm.
But like, okay, if you don't want to, I don't want to force that on you. But okay, I don't see you wanting to do an oil change. I don't see, like, so what, and I did all the things. I had them in the Home Depot workshops. I did the whatever library was having. So now when you're navigating this teenage stage, and I'm like, my GPA still good though. Stop bringing D's, because we're going to FLPS during the summer. You're taking this over. Like, stop thinking I'm gonna keep signing you up for FLPS if you want to. He messed up Hope class, a PE writing class. Sincere, come on, what are we doing? And so then we had to retake it. And so he's like, but I still got a great GPA. Where's the GPA again? Well, I'm just gonna go to a community college. And I'm like, it's
But
this tug of
yeah,
war.
community college is not easy either. They've raised the bar as well.
But I want you to know it is a tug of war. But what gives me peace is between his therapist, between the mentors, they're like, he is a typical teenage boy.
Okay. That's
And
good.
you really don't, like, even the people that help get them ready for college, they're like, they really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You're steady guiding them as they figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool.
Like you said, if I get to the other side of this.
I will write about it.
Right.
I will talk about it. But what I wanted to speak on when it came to you and your husband, I think you guys have a beautiful representation, because again, we're called to be partners. We're called to have husbands. Like, because of my trauma, and what's going on in the world. Like, you'll swipe and it's like, this man just did this to her kids. Swipe. This man just killed this woman.
Yeah.
he he was locked up for murder and killed her.
Oh, I
Like,
saw that. Yeah.
you
Oh,
know, like, come on, like, slightly. Yeah, no. God has to sit down and tell me you're the one, sir, because you
yeah.
cannot bring your kids around everybody. But what you guys give your son is the best of both worlds. And on top of that, the way you guys support each other. He posts workout stuff. You don't post workout stuff. You know what I'm saying? But y'all be in the gym together.
Yeah.
And he's respectful. Like, he's a respectful person to the relationship. He is a great representation of the head of your household, because as a woman, you got to remember, on my social media, the men that engage me, I'm dating them. Like, I'm like looking like, don't be trying it, like, you know, like you're trying to make sure that somebody's not trying to secretly flirt with you or this and that.
Mhm.
But he's a respectful man, so that's good that you have your son to have that in the household as y'all navigate trying to figure this thing out, because we never really figure it out.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know, so I think you
absolutely.
guys have a beautiful representation of the best of both worlds, navigate in this world, and really showing what it is to be great parents.
Thank you, cuz I listen, I feel like we've grown so much together. And I tell anyone, everybody who's like in my inner circle, they kind of already know what the space that I was in before my husband and I even started dating was like, just really focused on prayer, fasting. And I remember one day, like, going through a fast. I'm like, you know what, God, I'm not gonna look at a man. I'm not gonna even sniff a man or anything like that. Like, if you want me to be with somebody, you're gonna have to drop him on my doorstep, because I was just kind of done with the whole dating scene and, trying to get commitments from people who did not want to commit. Like, it was not supposed to work out, right? So I took a step back and just kind of told myself, you know what? This is the perfect time, the perfect age to just focus on myself. I was still living in Gainesville. At the time, I had just graduated. I had just started my career in teaching. I lived alone, and I was like, it's okay. Like, you're by yourself. The only thing you have to worry about is taking care of yourself. So I really just dove into that, right? Spiritually, mentally, physically, anything I wanted to do, anything I wanted to try. I think that's when I was really into like rock climbing and hiking and biking. I would bike like 12 miles a day because I could. I didn't have any responsibilities other than to myself. And it was during that time and in that headspace, that's when me and my husband kind of reconnected. And I was even like, nope, made a promise to God, like, not entertaining you. I made a promise to God, back up. I don't want to, like, it's not happening. And then it was like, girl, but you did say God would have to drop him on your doorstep. And sure
He's
enough,
being dropped off.
yeah, like, fool, this is, this is it. So that kind of happened. But I do tell people, and I don't really post much about spirituality, Christianity, anything like that, because my journey has been a little different. Growing up here in Delray, our families kind of already set the tone. And I grew up going to, like, what is that? St. John, like a primitive Baptist church here in Delray that was very, like, very strict, very rigid, very women do this, men do this, children do this is it. And that's, it was very black and white. And it wasn't until I got to college and one of my roommates invited me to church. And I'm like, gosh, she is relentless. Like, I am not going. And then I finally went, and it was a non-denominational church, but it was a black non-denominational church. And I felt like a deer out of head, like looking in the headlights, a deer in the headlights, looking around. That was my first time ever going to church in pants. And the whole time I'm like praying to myself, like, God, please forgive me for wearing these pants. Because growing up, like, women don't wear pants to church. Like, that's the kind of church and the congregation that we had, you don't do that. You don't go with your nails painted. You don't go, you have to wear your stockings. No matter what you're wearing, you better have on some stockings, and no fingernail polish on Sundays, and things like that. So when I went to church, and just the music in itself, the praise and worship looked completely different. At my church, they will escort you out. Like, you're not going to be shouting and all that hands up and falling out. Those ushers will pick you up and escort you. Like, you don't do that. So I'm in church and I'm just like almost going into shock. Like, it's women in pants. The pastor is shouting. Like, the congregation is shouting. The music is great. And I'm like, are they doing this to recruit members? Like, what's happening? And she's like, no. Right. I'm like, are they just doing this because they know, like, they invited a lot of new people? And she's like, no. And I'm like, and you guys are wearing pants? Like, I need you to explain this. So everybody just wear pants if they want to. But, when they say come as you are, she's like, no, the Bible says come as you are. I'm like, I know that, but it's women in pants. And she's like, come as you are. So up there, it just made it really easy to build that relationship with God, because it wasn't all of, these extra rules and all of that pressure. And there were a lot of youth groups. They had a lot of things for us to do to get involved with the community. So they really made it easy. If you wanted to do something with church every day of the week, that became the norm. So I was able to really dig into spirituality and just kind of learn the Bible for myself from my own experience, apart from my parents, right? Because my dad was this Baptist, on my mom's side. For the most part, her family was Baptist, but then her mom became a Jehovah's Witness. So then it was always like my parents did not see eye to eye completely with what we were doing, but in our household, they always gave my sister and I a choice, right? Yeah. So if we wanted to go to the Kingdom Hall, sure, you can go to the Kingdom Hall if that's what you want to do. If my granny came over on a Saturday to do field service, then we did field service and we read the watchtowers, and, we'll do Bible study. But on Sundays, if we wanted to go to church, or if we didn't want to go to church, we're still going to church, we just, hey, this is what it is. You're going to get both. And then I think the idea was when you get older, then you can decide. So we now kind of follow that non-denominational route here in our household. And even before my husband and I got married, we were going to like Christ Fellowship. And we did all the marital classes just for ourselves, so that we could get on the same page with, okay, what are the expectations of marriage? We were engaged. We had our son first. And then we ended up, I think he was around like maybe 2 years old when we got engaged. And then we were engaged for 2 years. And it was just a lot of, okay, let's figure out what this is going to look like, because we already live together. We already have a child. We know we can coexist, right? Yeah. And then we kind of know how to co-parent with each other, worst case scenario. But at least for me, on my side of the family, I didn't really have a lot of examples of healthy marriages. So it took some time to really wrap my mind around, what is your role as a wife? What is a marriage supposed to be? What is that supposed to look like? I feel like watching my mom as a single mom, she was a great example of being a single mom, raising a kid. So in my mind, I'm like, I got that motherhood thing. Like, I can do that, no problem. But actually being a mother in a marriage, I'm not the head of the household. I'm not the parent that's making all of the decisions. I am not the parent that's making decisions by myself. I have to consider somebody else. So all of that kind of goes into play, even with my professional hat. Sometimes there are things that I would do differently in the household as a parent, just because of my professional knowledge. But then I have to take and consider, okay, he has a dad, and dad has just plays just as much of a role in this child rearing as I do. So now I have to figure out how to navigate that situation. So how I want to know, like, that's my experience, but for you, outside of prayer, how else do you go about making these decisions?
So my last season with my podcast was finding my identity in Christ. And I know, like, a lot of times we know we're doing stuff, but we don't really completely understand it. I knew I came to Tallahassee to finish my master's. But then when I started going to a church, the first church I went to here, I didn't grow up in a church,
Okay.
right? I had a mother that believed in God. She went to work 7 days a week. So she didn't have the capacity to take us to church, but she prayed with us. So I have a praying mother. So only time I would go to a church is if I could catch a ride with a friend, but I did always know I had a relationship with God. Well, I knew God. I
Okay.
just really had gotten a relationship with him, right? And so when I got to Tallahassee, I remember the first time, like after I graduated, I went and visited a church, and I was like, that is too loud. Like music is, they are. I'm not saying they're obnoxious, but they were obnoxiously loud in there. And so I remember putting a status on Facebook, like, give me some church recommendations in Tallahassee. So the next week I go to another church, and I remember going up to the altar for prayer, and like, I mean, stadium lights. That's what it feels like, right? It felt like stadium lights. I'm like, it's hot up here. And so I was about to join the church, and then I just went and sat down. The lady came and got me to go back. And I'm like, girl, right? And I'm like, God, it is too bright up in here. And I remember just hearing a voice say, like, but it wasn't bright when you were in the club. The music
Oh,
was too
wow.
loud when you was in the club. So I was like, all right, this is my church.
Wow. Okay. That's a way to look at it. Okay.
So then I started going to this church, and I mean, I've been through just different series of churches. I went to Haitian churches because I'm Haitian. I went to Haitian churches, but I never knew what they were saying in Creole like that because my mom spoke English to us. Like she left Haiti when she was 14 and went to the Bahamas before coming here to the States.
Okay.
And I remember just like really where my relationship changed with God was when I started fasting.
Okay.
I started fasting. I was just like, God, like I remember my book came out. It was so many highs. I graduated. My book came out, so many highs. And then I'm like, God, what next? Like, I don't want to be the person like pursuing things because of my pain. Like, what next? And I just would hear surrender. And as I was surrendering, he was just like he wasn't cutting my friends off, but he was taking me away from anything that distracted me from him.
Okay.
And so I started giving him more time. And at that time, I was now making money on Facebook.
Okay.
And I had no desire to post nothing on social media because I'm fasting. Like I'm giving up stuff, and I want to make sure that I'm giving him his time. And I remember, and then that's the time when I was working with autistic children. So I'm an RBT, and I'm not getting paid if I don't go to work. And Sister goes, you mean to tell me like the closer you're getting to God, he's just taking things from you, like we're losing everything? And I was just like, baby, I know it looks crazy. It looks crazy.
That's yeah.
I know it looks crazy, but you got to believe he's going to bring it back. And so I really went through this Job experience. And while I would every now and then come back on social media, everybody would just say how amazing I looked. And I'm like, where? And so I was going to the church. Now I'm in minister of training. And I remember I served in the children's ministry. And I remember coming into the classroom to serve, and there was only the youth pastor in there. And he goes, you came through the wrong door, like go out and come back in. And I'm like, I mean, I probably broke my neck looking like to see if anybody was there. And I just kindly walked out and went around, because what I had to start learning was God was teaching us how to serve. God was teaching us how to show up. God is teaching us how to be quiet when we need to be quiet. He's teaching us how to take order when, like, literally, like you just said, I got to go to my husband before I do something. Like, I think even when we look at women and girls trips and all this other stuff, like, You have to be one salty woman to feel some type of way if a woman said, let me see with my husband before I do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that she's doing how she is supposed to be. Like
Right.
I tell but let me check in with God before I say. I won't say yes to every podcast. I'm not saying yes to every event. If God is not ordering my steps there, I'm not, like, if it makes no sense to the purpose that he has for my life, I cannot do it.
Mm.
And so when we learn to really start moving how God wants us according to scripture, right? And so when I'm saying according to scripture, and I told you I'm Haitian, so I'm like breaking generational curses of whatever voodoo was put on the bloodline.
Okay.
Like, you're literally talking about deliverance, and I'm wanting more. And we talk about, you talked about just watching how they sung, and the falling out and people catching the Holy Ghost. And for me, I was just like, for a long time, I'm like, man, that is so fake. Like, it's so fake. It's so, but then now when you really start understanding, like when you look at the elders in the church and you think about the things that they probably went through
Yeah.
that we have no clue. So
Absolutely.
making it out of cancer, child surviving being shot, or the
Mm-hmm.
prodigal child coming back, or
Mm-hmm.
you just never know what that person's been through. So when you're looking at them, it's not fake.
Yeah.
They're giving God all they have in that moment. And so what I tell Sincere is like, we go to church, and I'm like, baby, I don't want you to think that, I don't want him to think we're caught up in tradition.
Okay.
We're going because just like a person goes to the hospital if they break something, we're going to church because we know we're surrounded with people that are after God's heart. Now, does it mean these people are good? It
Mm.
doesn't. It don't mean that they're all good, but they're steady coming back to get cleaned up. They're steady coming back to say, God, I need more of you. Are they perfect? No, there are some people that are no good here.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I want you to
That's
think this
important. Yeah.
big. But we're here because I know two or three are gathered, and God does not want us to move in like solitude. Like, we're
Yeah.
not supposed to be isolated from people. Like, he keeps us in community, even if you're not like, oh, I got to talk to 20 people a day to know that I'm it. No, you
Right.
don't have to talk to nobody a day. But if you're making sure you go to church, you're making sure you go to work, you're making sure that you're in your household checking in as far as the boundaries and the balance and everything, like, those are the self check-ins that you need to do to make sure that you're not functionally depressed.
Yeah. Wow. And that's, yeah. I don't think anyone really puts it into perspective like that. But you do hear a lot of people walking around like, oh, I'm struggling with depression. I'm struggling with depression. Well, why? What's contributing to that? And I never really put it in perspective that way as well. But definitely making those changes, making those adjustments will take you out of a depression or a funk, or, getting around the right people who have similar goals to you. So even if they're not helping you directly,
They're
maybe,
indirectly helping you, right?
yeah,
I talked to the youth pastor, but when he told me to go out and come back in, what he told, like, that's teaching you, like, your boss might say something you don't want to hear next week.
mm-hmm,
Instead of having a rebuttal, zip it, go to God about it. You know what I mean? Like, and when you're reading scripture, it's not saying that Elijah was faced with depression. Elijah was suicidal. God sent the bird to feed him. But if you're reading scripture, it reminds you that, oh, you could possibly go through that, but that's for a time, and you can get over. You can
yeah,
move through it, right? But that's
absolutely,
why we have resources. We have therapists. We have the things that you need. That there's different apps. Utilize all those things. You had Job. Job lost it all.
mm-hmm,
Job's body went through it. Like, you are going to probably go through something, but the scripture reminds you that you weren't alone. These things didn't just start. They're going to continuously happen. Like when we think about COVID, right? Read Revelations. Revelations made me feel like it was COVID, right? Like the
yeah,
pandemic. So we just have to stay. God is close to the brokenhearted, and I feel like my assignment on this world is to be close to the brokenhearted, and I have to
okay,
be more Christ-like in the things that I do. And so to be like that, I don't want to be a person that look double-minded. Oh, she pretending or she's faking. Like I tell Sincere, when we close this door, I need to be who I am outside of here
mm-hmm,
to and to whoever's in this home with us, you know?
mm-hmm,
So my relationship has just been based with full surrender.
Okay.
Full.
So, right now, with the space that you're in, what are your three biggest challenges as a mom right now?
My biggest challenges as a mom, I would say like mom guilt.
Okay.
Mom guilt because a lot of times I want to make sure that I'm not giving it all to the community and not giving sincere enough.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so, like, helping raise the people in the community, but not raising him properly.
Mm-hmm.
Time management. If I had it my way, I would just work out all day. I would be playing tennis, golf, everything active you could think of. That I get so much joy out of those physical things, but really managing the time between what needs to launch or what needs to be produced, what needs to be sown, and maneuvering the different businesses that God has in me to
Mm-hmm.
birth.
Okay.
And the last one I would say would be teaching sincere independence versus being overprotective. And so, again, that's because of my own trauma. So I try not to pour that onto him and give him free will
Mm-hmm.
and try to give that healthy balance of trying to help him navigate life. So again, that's why, like I said, I don't beat my baby because I think a lot of times when people beat kids, they lose sight of healthy beating a child and then probably are giving them whatever stressors they have going on.
Absolutely.
There, that's when it could turn abusive. So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't even want to
Yeah.
worry about it. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
those are
one thing. It always comes up in these conversations with behavior therapy, especially when either I'm doing like a parent training or like a workshop with a group of teachers. There's always that group that's like, it starts in the home. Somebody needs to beat their behind. And it's like, okay, so let's talk about spankings. Let's
right.
talk about it, because this is, and we get the argument all the time when we explain to the parents that spankings, beatings, paddling, whatever, with a hand, shoe, belt, whatever it is, that is reinforcement to the parent. When it comes to, and people will argue us down, but when we break down the science of a spanking, usually there's a behavior that we call like a target behavior. They're doing something that you don't
Right.
like. So you implement some kind of stimulus, right, to deter them from engaging in that behavior in the future. That's what we call like a punishment procedure. Anything that reduces behavior in the future, good, bad, indifferent, is a punishment, right? Mm-hmm. So your kid is doing something you don't want them to do. You give them a spanking to stop the future occurrence of that behavior. The behavior stops, for the time being. And then if the behavior happens again, what do? You spank again. It stops. It encourages the parent to continue with the spankings, right? So it's reinforcing the parent's behavior. So right. While it may be decreasing the behavior for that moment, we still have to teach a replacement behavior, right? But when you start implementing those spankings, where's the teaching, right? Does the kid even understand why? And typically punishment procedures, things like that, spankings, I have read the research because I was a little torn as a parent because I was raised with spankings in the household. And I'm like, I got spanked and I turned out fine. Right. So I was conflicted because, as a parent, you do have those moments. And just for myself, I wanted to know, okay, what's the best way to navigate this situation? And the research tells you typically when it comes to a life or death situation, right? Spankings are more effective, right? So if it's a behavior like a kid running out in the street, okay, a spanking is appropriate, right? because you almost want to deter the kid so much. Like the spanking has to be severe enough. It can't be like a weak spanking because that's not going to deter the behavior. So it has to be the right amount of force, the right amount of pain to deter them from. No, that's what the research says. Like it has to be enough force to deter them from engaging in that behavior in the future. But it also has to be within a specific amount of time of the behavior actually occurring. So a lot of parents know you cannot be like, see, the research says you can spank. No, and the research does not say when you get that phone call at 12 o'clock in the afternoon that your kid is acting up at school. Now you go home, fuss them out at 6 o'clock at night and give them a spanking and it's going to work. No, spankings have to be within a set amount of time of that behavior actually happening for it to be effective. And most of the time, life does not allow you to spank immediately as soon as the behavior happens. That's number one. Number two is the behavior like a life-threatening situation. Because if it's not, then there's no need for it. If you're not, say if you have a little one going to jump in a body of water and they can't swim. Okay, a spanking may be appropriate to deter them jumping in that free body of water, right? Especially if they're too young to understand, or especially if you are dealing with a kid with autism who may not fully understand, like, oh, I can't be there, it's not safe.
Right.
You may want to give them an aversive stimulus to deter them, but it's in comparison to the other outcome, right? Because you can't really backtrack if a child, God forbid, if they die, right? We can't, there's no more debate. So if it's a life threatening situation, then, you definitely want to use punishment. But most of the time, for the things that we encounter, they're not in immediate danger. It's not a life threatening situation. So there is something else that you can do. Talking to them, giving them replacement behaviors, giving them alternatives. That's going to be a better fit, because how often are our children in life or death situations, right? A lot of the time, we are not in areas that are really, really dangerous, because then
Right.
the behavior management is going to look completely different. And I think the research article, if I can find it, I'll share it. But it was talking about like the gang violence in Chicago,
Right.
okay, to deter those kids from engaging in those life threatening behaviors of joining gangs and things like that. They had better outcomes if they receive spankings and, beatings, whatever you want to call it. If they received that kind of behavior management, they had a higher probability of not engaging in like gang violence and things like that. So in that situation, it was appropriate. But again, right now, today, how many of us are in those situations where that type of behavior management is warranted? And a lot of us, fortunately, are not in those situations. So we got to find other ways to deal with it. And even generationally, from us, the way that we were raised, and the environments that we were raised in, a lot of my peers and classmates are no longer in those situations either, right? So that parenting style is going to look different. That discipline style is going to look different, because we don't have our kids in the same environments that we grew up in. My kid knows nothing remotely similar to the lifestyle in the area, the neighborhood that I grew up in. Like he'll never know that life. And
You
sometimes,
know,
go ahead.
another reality too, though, to speak to the single mom that's raising a son or even a daughter, when they get at that, they don't have words all the time to tell you that they're hurt if that parent, like say if you don't have a good co-parenting thing, like say that if the person is like more absent than there. And so when if your child doesn't know how to say, well, I'm mad that a promise was made and it didn't come through,
Mm-hmm.
what it probably sometimes look at is like they're lashing out on you about something you have no clue about, but because they don't have the words or they don't know how to express their emotions, and now you might want to try to like discipline them, but they're actually just hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really like, because again, I'm not, remember, knuck if you buck or soft, a gentle parent, and it's neither, but it's more so really meeting that child where they are socially. And I did a training, and it's called with TBRI, and it's that stands for trust-based relational intervention. But I'll send you the information about that. But it talks about sometimes when a kid doesn't meet that social development at a certain age. Like, say, if you had a 5-year-old boy that didn't get hugged enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so now at 15, like, he might be 15 and you'd be like, man, he just really act like he 5, or for whatever reason. And it's really, he presents with what's missing. Until that need is met, that's how he presents. But when
Mm.
you can meet it, then you could finally get him to be at that age and progress. But then now you're probably still dealing with stuff that regular teenagers would deal with.
Right.
And so I love that aspect, because as a parent, sometimes we try to overcompensate with things that really do not help. Buying them stuff, or, taking them places, or making sure they have all the things where you cannot fill the void, but you can give them words.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I buy Sincere journals to express himself. I'm always telling him to write how he feels, and he's just like, he thinks I'm so crazy. I'm like, dig, find a word. Here goes a list of words you can.
But that's good because as I'm starting to get more clients who don't have autism, but they have these severe behaviors, and I find myself going back to like, okay, what is missing here? Because we'll get the explosion like the towards the end of last year, I had an 8-year-old in a public school who ripped the door off the frame. Do you know how strong you have to be to rip a door off a
Right.
frame? And we're not on the spectrum, but I'm like, something like, I get it. It's behavior, but what in the world is happening before that? So I got teachers in distress. I got school administrators like, the teacher is refusing to go back if that girl is in the room. And I'm like, okay, but I need a little bit more than that. What happened? Because with a 7-year-old and 8-year-old, they may not have the vocabulary, and she can talk, but has anyone ever given her any explicit instruction on feelings? And this
Right.
was around the time where I first like inherited the case, and I'm like, I know it sounds so juvenile and so childish, and I think a lot of times when teachers see you coming in with like cards of faces and feelings, they think like, oh my God, you're wasting time. What are you
I could
doing?
have did that, but you didn't.
Right. Right. And I'm like, I'm starting to see it more and more and more. Has anyone really taken the time out to teach feelings? Right. And I know the kids go to guidance, and I think they have like their guidance, I don't know, like once every 6 weeks or something like that. Now the guidance counselors teach a class, but do the kids really have enough time to process what they're learning? And I
Right.
don't think, they have the opportunity to learn these other feelings. A lot of times, happy, sad, mad, good, bad, like that's what they're learning. But what about those feelings that are kind of in between? I'm
Yep.
feeling anxious. I'm having resentment. I'm feeling, whatever it is that doesn't fit with mad and sad, good and bad. When do they have time to learn what those feelings are, how it makes me feel, what does that look like within my body? And when I get all these feelings, what in the world am I supposed to do? And I think for some of my kids, it comes out as, I'm going to rip this door off the handle or this
But
door off the frame.
us even being parents, creating spaces when we allow our children to tell us, I didn't like when you did that.
Yeah.
It would be like, you're yelling. I'm like, I'm not yelling, you're yelling. Like, but even matching him, like, so at the end of the day, having safe spaces to, like, when I caught parent teacher conferences, I'm like, hey, look, you guys are going to get to tell me how he is, but he's also going to get to tell me how you are,
I
because I
love
create
that.
that space, and he's allowed to tell me, because it's not about what you felt like, it's how he felt, how he perceived it.
Yeah,
you know like, if you're
absolutely.
talking at him, or if you're making him feel less than, or you had one teacher that was like cracking joke with the other student and then like trying to give a command afterwards, he's not gonna listen, and then
Mm-hmm.
come into his own, and then become so. All those things matter, and his therapist said it best. He was like, and then when it comes to men, it's one thing to give an instruction, and it's another thing to talk at you
Yeah.
when you get instruction. So there's so many dynamics, but because I know what I know, and then I went to school for psychology and did a few years up in there. It's so different in this household.
But that's a good thing because I think they need an opportunity, and I always tell parents and professionals, kids really need an opportunity to be in an environment where they can just
That part.
practice having those responses. School, it should be a place that's the perfect environment to practice some of these replacement behaviors because they're not going to get it right every time.
Right.
But you have to create an environment where it's like, all right, time out. As the adult, time out. How could we have handled that differently? Because that's not the way we do things in here. That's not the way it should go. But a lot of times, with either the time constraints, the lack of training, sometimes the patience is just not there. Burnout is real with these teachers and being overwhelmed and and that's not an excuse because also I am a parent as well, and I will go in any parent teacher conference and let the teachers know that's unacceptable. You
Right.
said, like, you called home, you said XYZ. My son told me you said this to him before this happened. I just had a very heated exchange with an assistant principal and one of my son's teachers because she threatened to call his parents in front of the whole class. Right. And tried to, embarrass him and shame him. And then she sent me like an kind of spicy email like, I'm not tolerating this. I don't go back and forth with kids. I don't blah, blah, blah. And next time, I'm just going to let the principal handle it. Okay, so if you're
That's
talking,
what you in email. So
yes,
imagine how she talked to the child.
thank
Because
you.
she was comfortable to say that to you in black and white.
Yeah, yeah. And then here's the kicker, the school called me when I sent my reply, and I had to like type my response a couple of times, and I had to give it a day before I actually calmed down, and I had to self-regulate myself because I'm still a parent, and when these exchanges happen with my son, it's to the point where I get physically ill. Like, I will get sick because I get so stressed out thinking about what he's
Blood
enduring.
boiling. Your
Yeah.
blood is boiling. That's
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah, but it's both like like I'm already upset, I'm angry, but then that emotional piece because there's so much. I've been in the classrooms and I know how teachers can manipulate situations, and I know how teachers can have a significant impact on a child's future, right? So I always try to taper my responses because I don't want anyone taking anything out on him, right? He spends more time at school than he spends with me.
Right.
So taking that into consideration, like I want to be that emotional parent who's just going off and advocating for my child, but at the same time, I have to keep in the back of my mind, okay, he has to go back tomorrow. This probably won't be resolved tomorrow. They could easily set him up, bait him again the next day, and say, oh, you see, he did
There
this.
it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
send them home, call the principal, do this, do that. So it just makes me sick because there are people in these classrooms around our children who are not for children. They don't like our children. Every turn, every opportunity they get to break a child down, they will, and they have an impact on a child's self-image, right?
The
There.
words matter. The words matter. Actions matter. Um, you know, I didn't have the experience of a teacher telling me I wouldn't be anything, but too many times you hear people say that or
Mhm.
treat such. Sincere had a teacher literally tell him, "Oh, I seen your mom's social media. I should try to holler at her."
Oh my god.
How do you want him to show up? How do you want him to respect you? How do you want him to, you know, when I had a teacher parent conference, it was like, "Oh, he doesn't know when to stop talking." He said, "You cracked a joke, he cracked the joke back. You got mad."
Mm.
Like, so it's,
Mhm.
you can do it, he can't do it. You guys got to make up your mind. And that was very inappropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
trust me.
It's an uphill battle for sure, and it doesn't help even when I try to put my professional hat on talking to, say, admin. Okay, I'm not going to get through with this teacher. I'm not going to see eye to eye with this teacher. Let me take it to the next level. And I try to
Right.
let them know, like, hey, this is my background. I've been in the classroom for this many years. I've been teaching since 2010. I've taught all populations, autism, ASD, VE, kids who are EBD, like you name it, I've done it. There's a way to handle these situations.
Right.
And this was not okay. And this particular incident with the teacher, when I sent my response in email, the teacher never responded. I copied admin on the email. Admin called me. They never responded in email, and you know why.
Of course.
Yeah, so they called me because they wanted to check me on some things that I said in my email. Because I told the teacher, like, look, I was just there for a meeting that was scheduled 2 months ago. I scheduled this meeting 2 months ago. You knew when the meeting was going to be held. The meeting was held a month ago. We stayed there for 3 hours. Not only did you not show up, you didn't even submit like a letter, a written statement, a summary to express any of your concerns. But now all of a sudden, I'm getting this email from you like, you're not going to tolerate this anymore. And then it was something so small and juvenile. I'm asking my son, like, well, what happened? And he was like, well, there are two teachers in the classroom. I was turning around to get the attention of the other teacher. Kids from across the room started laughing. And she said, and she even wrote it in the email, he's trying to make eye contact with other students. Like, ma'am, you sound like
No,
an idiot.
these are this real life
Yeah.
scenarios, and I need every parent, every mother, every father to know: do not back down when it comes to standing up for your child. You will always be their advocate. You don't even understand when it comes to admin, like what I have to go through. Again, I present on social media. I talk about advocacy, but at the end of the day, I do not share the most horrific challenges because I might be fully transparent, but it's my son is still a minor,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be that person that's considered this influencer or creator to the point that one day he wakes up and says, "I never wanted that shared," or
Yeah,
I didn't give
absolutely.
you. We have to protect our children, so we might talk about stuff that are light, but when I tell you navigating mommyhood has to be one of the most gratifying and horrific
Yeah,
hoods you could ever pass through. Uh,
absolutely. It's a
yeah,
struggle, and it's easy for people to dismiss your concerns because you are a parent. So, and I have to tell my husband that all the time because before, I was the teacher, I'm the therapist. So, in our household, it's kind of like we have our roles, right? You take on
yeah,
this, I take on that. You tackle this, I tackle that. You do this, and it got to the point where it got so bad at school with me, the administrators, even aftercare. Like, my husband had to start showing up. And it's so crazy.
You start feeling like you're being ganged up on.
You,
Like, because co-workers got each other's backs. Let's just
oh
be
yeah.
honest, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you're right or wrong. I got your back until I figure it out, but I
Uh-huh.
still got your back because we can't let the
Yep.
outsider feel that way.
Absolutely.
But in your position, it's you, your husband, and you guys are, doing okay for yourself. But imagine that mom that is struggling, doesn't know how she's going to pay her bill, doesn't know where she's going to lay her head.
Yeah.
Trying to navigate all the resources and steady getting the door shut. That's why I fight for them, because I'm like, y'all. And then she got to show up to a parent-teacher conference and don't know what to go, might not have the words for it.
Yeah.
You see how you with a degree, with verbiage and research show
absolutely.
up, and how they do you.
Yeah, absolutely. And they didn't check it until my husband started showing up, which is insane to me, because I'm like, I was the teacher. But as soon as he can say, and he doesn't have the lingo, I feel like education has a special language of its own. My husband doesn't know any of that language.
But it was the man.
Oh, yeah. If he says this does not make sense, I wouldn't speak to somebody that way. I don't speak to people at my job the way you spoke to my child. Conference over. We will work on it. We'll fix it. But before, when I was there, it's like I'm coming back to meeting after meeting after meeting after. I have documentation. I have emails. And my husband can say one or two things and shut everything down. So now, moving forward, every meeting, if it's meet the teacher, if it's a parent-teacher conference, we have an agreement. We have an understanding that he has to be there, because with all of my experience and I try to be there as objective as possible, they do not treat me the same. So I can't even imagine if I didn't have somebody as a single mother to stand in with me. Not only that, a lot of times, if you are a single mother, when do you have time to take off?
Right.
To attend these meetings that you want to have in the middle of the day? Because the teachers, they don't want to stay after their contracted hours. That's not an option. So God forbid this parent cannot show up. Teachers will drag a parent through the mud if they do not show up, and they do not take into consideration she has more than one child. She has a job. She might have two jobs.
Exactly.
Can we make this a phone call? And then it almost forces parents to get on the kid. Like, hey, I can't miss work. I know that's the household that I grew up in. My mom was a single mom with me and my sister. And that was the rule. Do not have those people call me from that school. My mom worked at some points. She worked 4 jobs at the same time. She worked all day long. Getting a phone call home, having somebody pick you up from school because you violated dress code. That's not an option in this household, because that means like a bill is not getting paid. She has to pay the right. Mom had to pay the mortgage. You better not get a phone call talking about your midriff and you got to go home. What?
but think about, and this is what like people don't like, where my passion lies is really trying to get our next generation through. Like, I want to be to that person that doesn't have the voice, because if you guys didn't do that for your child, imagine how they would have probably pushed them through this system as the problem child.
Oh, yeah.
For turning around and in the class laughing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your ego was hurt.
Yeah, it was, because when she called him out about it, he spoke up for himself. And he said, I'm not doing anything. And her rebuttal, well, they're laughing. And he said, I have nothing to do with that. Oh, you're being disrespectful. I'm not dealing with the back talk. I'm going to email your mom. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And before we even had the meeting, I think I told whoever was in charge of the meeting, I told them, I was like, listen, My kid has anxiety. Me and dad are on him about our expectations, and we are very big on respect. Do not use us as a threat. Okay, because we hold our son accountable. Yeah. If there is a situation where he was being disrespectful, he knows what comes with that. We don't play about that. So do not just throw that loosely around, because in elementary,
you messed up his day.
In elementary, he had a couple of teachers like, I'm gonna call your mom, and I think she did it one too many times, and he had a whole anxiety attack in front of everybody. Luckily, he was young enough to where the kids didn't bully him and tease him for it, but it was kind of like, but it was so bad, the kids were texting me, hey, is he okay? Miss so-and-so was really mean to him. Because initially I'm like, I try to stay level-headed and say, hey, teachers are human too. So sometimes they don't respond the way that they should respond to situations. Right. It may not even have been you, but you may have been the straw that broke the camel's back. And I'm not saying that it's fair. I'm not saying that it's right, but that's what probably happened. But let's try to move forward. Let's try not to hold a grudge and hold this against this teacher, because also you're never going to win in a situation that's child against teacher. You're not going to win that argument. So your best bet is to keep a cool head and contact me. And even if you have to go to the bathroom and send me a text message, go to the bathroom and send me a text message. I will handle the adults. You don't handle adults. I do. But I know my kid, and if he's gotten to the point where he's like, I didn't do that, I didn't do this, I didn't say, he's not saying that for no reason. So now I need to know what else happened, because he's not going to do that for no reason.
Right. And even, you're lucky, that you have that rule with him where I handle the adult. My calls that I would get was sincere. Like, by the time sincere gets off the phone, I'm like, you need to be quiet. I fight the battles. He's like, no, man. No, Mom. And I'm like, no, Mom. Let me tell you what they did. I'm like, sincere. And I have to stop what I'm doing, go to that school, get him in the office and talk. Yeah. Don't do that. Yeah. This is their classroom. Right. It don't matter if you're right or wrong. Yeah. They run it. So please let me get here. Let me handle. Mm-hmm. Boy, after they get to a certain age, like he got to that age where his chest was up. It's like, no, Mom. You said respect is given and respect.
Like I did. And it's tough because as moms of Black boys, you have to tell them that should be the rule, but people are not going to treat you that way.
Girl, when you're dealing with egos, you're watching teachers and students get in fights. I'm like, boy, hush. I don't need to know you got snatched up because of your mouth. Right. I don't want you to be the straw that broke the camel's back, and now y'all fighting. Yeah. That's what, like you literally, there was a time period when that's all we were seeing was fight videos between student and teacher. Yeah. I don't want that to be your portion. Just be quiet. Yeah. But because now they have the audience between the adult and the child, they're going to put on.
Yeah. But I also feel like as a teacher, it's your responsibility to create a safe space for your class, right? Because you should not, as an adult, you should not be backing a child, right, and backing a child into a corner where now they feel so heightened and so escalated that they're ready to flip a desk. That they, even if you have kids with behaviors, because I've worked in what we call like VE classrooms. So a VE classroom, VE is what we call varying exceptionalities. Sometimes it's like they don't even know how to categorize these kids. Something is wrong. You got some explosive behaviors. I've had students who are like, they'll tell me up front, Miss, I'm just trying to not go back to jail. Okay, I appreciate your honesty. Like, there's a way to handle those situations, right, but you have to be humble. Number one, you have to be knowledgeable when to see the signs, right? Because certain students, certain kids, you don't know what kind of trauma they are bringing into that classroom. So you keep poking the bear, and then you get mauled, and it's like, oh my gosh, poor teacher got attacked or whatever. But what led up to that?
Right.
Okay?
Just like the student that took the door off the hinges. You're like, that just don't happen.
Correct. That is not
They didn't come
normal.
in there and say, oop, door coming. Like it has to be a built up energy. What
Right.
took,
Right.
yeah.
And an escalated adult cannot de escalate a child. So normalize hitting the buzzer, having your colleague, you know what? I can't handle, like, I'm not in the right headspace right now to deal with this because I
Yeah.
grew up on some knuck if you buck. So I'm going to let you like, I'm going to need help with this situation because I don't want to put my hands on a child. Like,
Yeah.
as the professional, you don't put yourself in that situation either. Right.
Right.
But, and as the adult, that's your responsibility. I don't care what is happening with that child. As soon as they come into your classroom, they're showing some signs. You will have the kid that's being the class clown excessively, like they're waiting for you to tell them no. They want you to tell them no, right?
Yeah.
They want that attention of you telling them to sit down so they can tell you no, because something probably already happened and
Yep.
now they're ready. And I feel like kids, I always tell people, kids have more energy than adults. So don't think don't set yourself up to run that race with them because they're ready. They've been waiting on this. Don't give them that opportunity. So
Agreed.
if I see myself, when I had those classrooms, I had the kids on house arrest. I had the kids going back and forth between alternative school and then coming back to my room. And, if anything happens, you're going right back to alternative school. Like, I've had that. I've been pulled into meetings where it's like, hey, this kid likes to knock out teachers. I'm sorry, what? And there's no self-defense against a child. You can't hit them back. So here's what you do instead. I'm sorry, what? In that case, let me pair with this child and build a rapport a little bit more. So if you feel like knocking somebody out today, hopefully it's not me.
It won't be me. It won't be me.
I don't want to get knocked out today. And
but kids' discernment is like, see, even with a nonverbal child, right? If you're talking about a child in front of them, just because they can't say nothing to you don't mean they didn't hear you talk about them.
correct. Absolutely.
They someone when you don't like them. So
yeah, they know.
change your attitude, change how you show up, make them feel important.
Yeah.
Even if they have a mean mug on their face, let them know that you're excited that they're here today.
Yeah. I think the toughest class that I ever taught in my entire career was my 8th grade class that I had right before everything got shut down before COVID. And I told my husband, I was like, oh, this was such a blessing. And he's like, what? I'm like, honey, I kid you not. I don't know how I was going to make it to the end of the school year. And I had started sending myself back to like professional development trainings, behavior management trainings. I was still in school to be a behavior analyst at the time. I was finishing up my classes, and it was that was the hardest group that I had ever dealt with. But because my background was special education, it's like they gave me all of them. And teachers would walk past my classroom and be like, oh, you got that group? Oh, if I had that group last year and I almost retired. Like, they were terrible. And I was so thankful when they said schools were closed for COVID, because I just mentally did not know how I would corral that group after spring break to make it to the end of the year. Because after spring break, there's testing, this, that, and the third. But the kids, the way things are set up, they kind of already know if they're being promoted to the next grade level or not.
Yeah.
So if they know they're being promoted, even if they fail the last 9 weeks, the last semester, they can still be promoted to the next grade level. And certain kids, they don't care about a GPA. They don't
Yeah.
care about, the scheduling for high school. So what's going to motivate them to finish the school year strong by to keep it together for the next 9 weeks? I was running out of ideas, and then COVID hit, and I was like, thank God. But then we started doing what is that? The virtual teaching.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to see what their home life was like on that computer screen in the classroom, being in their home, like they're in my home, I'm in their home. I got a chance to see a different side, and it was heartbreaking. And
It
then I
it
felt,
it told the story.
yeah,
It literally helped you say,
this is why.
it
Yeah.
I get it. I get it
Yeah.
now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't tell you how many kids were like basically the parents of the house, like, hey, I gotta cook, hey, I gotta this, hey, and I'm like, oh, it was gut wrenching to the point
And
where it almost became therapy just for us to sign on, just to be together. Not even like, you know what, we can review some vocab, but how are you guys doing? What's going on?
yeah.
And it we built a rapport in a totally different relationship outside of the classroom, because I got a chance to see what was really going on. And then it just made a lot more sense. And I just
But you knew where
always,
the aggression came from.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, but getting that experience, it always puts me in the mindset of, even if you have a kid with, because we have kids with mental disorders, cognitive disorders, emotional disorders, all of that can come out as behavior, right?
Yep.
Even if you're dealing with the most severe case, teachers need to be trained on how to de escalate those situations and not make it worse. And they really need to understand at that point, there comes a point where you're not dealing with a rational individual, right? If you're dealing with a little one, if you're dealing with a teenager, if you're dealing with a preteen, it's not there. So that whole I'm the adult, you're the child, this is respectful, that's irrelevant right now. With whatever they're going through, whatever they have going on, that is completely irrelevant. And you need to take a different approach, or this is going to get worse. So I always have that in mind. And now I just try to apply it to what I have going on in the household. But like I said, I make a conscious decision to be a parent with my kid instead of being
Yeah.
his therapist. So I also have to have those conversations with him, like, hey, I'm human. So don't get it twisted. Like, take some of the bass out of your voice, because I might be triggered. Now, if you want to have a conversation, we can have a conversation. But I feel like not too long ago, I even told my son, like, look, I'm not ready to have a conversation yet, because I'm just that upset, and I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret later. So I need you to step out of my space. Like, I'm upset. I need you to back up.
Sincere will let me know when he does not want to talk. And I remember this one time he did something that just really, 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 because I'm really careful with my words. And I was like, are you stupid or are you dumb? He said, Mom, are you serious? Like, you've never talked to
Oh,
me like that before. Like, if there's only two options, you're calling me either.
but
That
that's
was
where I say, like,
so
we're
hot.
human.
I'm like, just don't talk to me right now, because I don't even want to say nothing worse than that. But
Yeah, we're
what's the
human.
answer to the question? Because what are we doing? So, like, I when I would talk to the teacher, I just had to say, like, I just really want to hope that you didn't start this journey of being a teacher for the straight A student.
Mm. And even the straight A students, I mean, their personalities and it comes with a lot. It's a tough job, but I'm just not for people breaking kids down. And I
Yeah.
don't care what kind of kid it is. And I've dealt with students that I absolutely do not like.
Yeah.
but I would never let them pick up on it. And I
Right.
even had a student call me out because they had no clue. They were like, Miss, we heard Miss So and so talking next door. And she said, you don't even like us. You don't like us? I'm like,
It's not that I
why
don't
would they
like you.
say that?
I do. I don't like. Did it make sense? But yeah, so I just be like, these are little humans, and we their introduction to us should be with love,
Yeah.
because we don't know that most likely 9 out of 10 times that behavior comes from. Again, I work in human services, social work. If you're helping a person that's going through domestic violence, everything is catering to mom, but the social workers in the schools are probably not doing what they need to do, or this kid probably done moved 3 times. And
Mm-hmm.
who gets left behind in the whole process? It's the child
Yeah, absolutely.
failing
Absolutely.
because the work hasn't been, so much is going on with this child. And now where you have the kids that are thriving, it's amazing, but they're failing and nobody knows why.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
So
yeah.
So I want to know, as we come to a close with this episode, I want to know, what advice do you wish you had been given a lot sooner when it comes to motherhood?
Mm, I would say some advice I think I would have liked to know sooner is that we're not supposed to do it alone.
Mm, okay.
And asking for help is not a bad thing.
Okay. Okay. I like that because we're
Asking for
definitely
help is
not.
not a bad thing. I would say if leaning on family seems more like they're judging you, then see if you have a safe families in your area. Because safe families literally want to come alongside families and disciple and just really love on them like Christ loved the church.
Oh, wow.
And so there you'll have a non-judgmental, unopinionated person probably trying to tell you how to navigate life and judging you off of whatever you're going through. I think when I had hit financial hardship, I think for me, what hurt the most, no matter who was helping and how they could help, was it looked like I could have been irresponsible with money, and
Mm,
I had to go through my savings.
okay.
Right. And so I had to go through my savings, but I was in a field that just didn't cover me if I wasn't working. And
Mm-hmm.
not working would be my kid is sick. So I
Right.
can't go
Yeah.
to work, like, and there's no replacement. So just being able to like look for a resource that could help you navigate life and know that you're not doing it alone, because we're
Okay.
not meant to.
And it's called Safe
Safe
Families.
family, safe
Okay.
family for children.
Safe Families for Children. Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to post that in the show notes. Let me just write that down.
And I'll send you a link to Safe Family so that people can see what it's all about. Yep.
Okay. And then I want to know, before we wrap things up, how can our listeners contact you? If they wanted to reach out, if they wanted to follow your journey, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I always tell people I'm not hiding from anybody, and so everything across all boards is my name, Markeisa Tassy, on my website. That's MarkeisaTassy. So MarkeisaTassy.com. My Instagram is Markeisa_Tassy. My fitness journey is body by _Kisa. My podcast is Beautiful Disaster GPS, and that could be found on Spotify, but I do plan on putting it on all platforms. So that's how people can keep up with me. And again, I just live a fully transparent life where I talk about how to navigate all things through my pain turn purpose.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Thank you for your time and your insight, your resources, your advice. Like I said, I know I get a lot from just following your page, your journey. It does inspire me to try some things I've been wanting to try out. So I think if I can benefit from it, I know other moms could definitely benefit from witnessing your journey. So thank you again for your time. And I look forward to just watching the rest of your story. And I can't wait until your other projects come out. So I'll be looking for that as well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see what God does, right?
Right. Hey everyone, it's your favorite BCBAD here, Dr. DeLauren, and I'm here to ask you to help us continue making great content for listeners everywhere by visiting www.forshittymoms.com, where you can make a monthly contribution. Also, visit us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok at For Shitty Moms, and that's shitty with an X, not an I.